Alright, I did my paper on the feminism through Ivone Gebara's eyes in Latin America, or more specifically Brazil. My thesis was, the women of Latin America, especially Brazil, have not been treated with the same respect and presented with the same opportunities than that of the men, both in Christian and public structure. A short background of Ivone Gebara is she is a sister of St. Augustine in Brazil. She was born into a family who was praying for a boy and who really wanted a boy. She was looked down upon by her parents, and basically because they wanted a boy so badly. She found her way through education and by becoming a nun and an activist for women. In the 70s, Gebara became a liberationist. A liberationist can be described as a person who helps others to be set free from oppression or from wrongdoings by others. She has been searching for justice since she was a child, because of how her parents basically kind of almost disowned her because they wanted a boy so bad. Becoming a nun was a part of this search. The main liberation goal was to liberate those who were without dignity to the environment and who sought a better life or deserved a better life than what they had. In the 80s, Gebara became a feminist. She states a feminist means to enter into a deep, concrete search for liberation for women. In the 90s, she became an ecologist. Ivone Gebara's concern for ecology comes from the women and children. Women are responsible for child care, nutrition, health care, and daily life. In the poor areas of Latin America, the women have to be concerned about diseases coming from pollution and conditions from food and water. Gebara feels with better and more well-taken care of ecosystem, the women would have an easier time taking care of their families, and they would all be healthier. She looks at herself as an ecofeminist, which an ecofeminist is both a feminist and an ecologist. The main thing is to find a balance between the two, which sometimes can be hard because one can pull on the other. It's the thought of taking ecological thoughts and transforming them into a feminist perspective. Gebara has a little different stance on abortion than most nuns. She actually thinks that cases on abortion needs to lighten up a little bit in the Catholic Church, because she believes a woman who is very poor and has nothing to live on, who is going to have a child, she should have the right to have an abortion, because that child is pretty much his destiny is to grow up as a poor, like her mother, or the Vatican, as you know, the Catholic Church totally is against abortion, so the Vatican authorities silenced Gebara and sent her to Rome for 2 years sanctioning for her outspoken thoughts about abortion. Evil is usually seen as something you choose to do, such as choosing an evil action in which you can ask for forgiveness. Poor women experience evil a little bit differently. Not having food for their families to eat is part of evil. They experience not having any education for their families, not having proper housing, not being treated equally, and there are always evil action such as destruction, alienation, exclusion run into the women's lives. The Latin American Catholic Church is known for having male domination, or at least it used to be. The Church is accused of reifying their maternal roles and discouraging their participation in public life. The past decade, there has been some change, and women seem to have a bit of an in with the church more than they used to. Going kind of off that Latin America, the Brazilian Catholic Church, the women are becoming more prominent in it and are becoming more of the backbone of the church. I found somewhere that it said that women are consisting of almost 80% of the congregation, which seems high, but the Brazilian church had tried involving women through missions, but one thing that the women are starting to see in the Brazilian Catholic Church, they're starting to see themselves fade back into their old habits, such as doing the women work through the church. Cleaning dishes, cleaning all this stuff, taking care of the children, which is women's roles, but it doesn't have to be. And gebara states that women are called upon to do tasks and not make decisions like a lot of men are to do. Women's salvation. Women's salvation comes in many different ways. An example that gebara states is that a woman is in Brazil, goes and collects paper. For most people, having a dirty street would be a bad thing, but she goes and picks up the paper from the street. For salvation for this woman is to pick up this paper and buy food for her family to eat. Salvation is different for everyone, and this is just how she experiences her salvation, in which it's a great way for her to support her family by picking up the streets. Women and violence. Women have always been fair game to be used on the streets. Their body is fair game in wars and are always under lustful looks from other men. Becoming a feminist is someone who fights against all these things and fights for women's rights. A world without violence towards women. My overall conclusion is, although women are still not being treated as they should be in Latin America, especially Brazil, it is getting better. There are positive outlooks. People like Ivone gebara are to thank for this. If more women would speak out and stand for what they think is right and help others, the world would be a much better place. And Ivone gebara has had a great start with this, and hopefully she rises to the occasion, lets other women rise out of their shell and become more prominent structure in their faith and public hearing. Okay, thank you.